In this video, I'm going to share with you how I earn US dollars and live in the Dominican Republic. But I'm also going to break down different ways you can do it that may not be the same as how I'm doing it right now. And I'm going to share with you real people making US dollars here in the Dominican Republic. I'll show you. Just stick with me. Let's dive in. What's up, everybody? I'm Jamie Gruber. I quit my high-paying job in early 2021 and moved to the Dominican Republic a year later. And on this channel, I share tips about quitting your job, moving abroad, and more specifically, what it's like living here in the Dominican Republic. My audience is typically Dominican Americans, Dominican Canadians, Dominican Europeans who make a decent living, and they want to take that type of living and apply it here. So for those of you who hear me talk about some numbers and this, that, and the other and say, but
the average Dominican makes $200 a month.
I don't care. I understand that. That's not who's watching me. That's not my audience. I say that every damn video, and I still get the comment. I'm just trying to eradicate that comment. I probably should stop, but let's dive in. On my YouTube channel, there is a community tab, and I put up a question. And the question was, hey, what's some content some of you would like for me to cover about living in the Dominican? And I got this one that I want to read to you. It's from @Guyman2135. It says, how to keep a US salary remotely but work from DR. I'm a software engineer, born in DR, but a US citizen. Ideally, I like to make similar money that I make in the States, but live in DR. All the Reddit posts make it seem impossible. I would love to see context on this and/or at least point me to people who might be doing this. Thank you. Well, Guyman2135, your wish is my command. I'm going to take care of that today for you. First off, get off the Reddit threads. Get off of all these things where people tell you you can't. Can't people are toxic. Stay away from them. I spent a lot of money and a lot of time getting around can people. But if you're talking to people who haven't done it or talking to people who failed doing it, those aren't the types of people you want to talk to. Maybe I need to build a community for people to get around other high-minded folks that are trying to make this move instead of being dissuaded by Reddit. Breaks my heart. But let's go into it. Let me share what I did. So for those that don't know my backstory, I was an executive with Progressive Insurance, a big insurance company in the United States, in the claims department. I didn't sell it, but I was in the claims department. I started in 2000 as a claims adjuster. I moved up to supervisor a couple years later, and then manager, then a higher level manager in 2008. That's when I moved to Boston and I met my wife there. And then in 2017, I got my dream job. After a lot of grinding, a lot of travel, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of literal blood, sweat, and tears, my family moved to Michigan, somewhere we had never been, and my salary and income overall went up. Here's what it looked like. Salary was around $200,000 a year. My bonus was around $90,000. I had an equity award every year around $50,000 to $60,000, and then my equity vesting would be anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000 in a given year. So when I say $400,000 a year, that's what it looks like. It's not all cash in my pocket per se, but you get the point. Total compensation was pretty darn good. But about 30 days after I made that move and got this big salary and the big department with the multiple layers and the big office and all that stuff, I hated it. Same company, 17 years in, and I realized I was searching for some sort of validation, I guess, by getting the job I thought I was owed, when the reality was, somewhere along the way, what felt empty was the fact that I wasn't really ever meant to go that far with that company. It just wasn't in my spirit. So around 2017, 2018, after getting out of a deep funk and a deep depression, real estate seemed like the right move. My wife and I bought a couple of duplexes. We turned them around. Unfortunately, went into COVID, so they didn't cash flow as much as we wanted to initially, but we did fine on. That led to me buying a 16-unit property with 3 other partners outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan, and then later with a few other partners buying a property that's 22 units in Cleveland, Ohio. I was a small partner on that one, didn't really have a big active role, no money in, but I signed on the debt for that deal. So now all in, I'm partnered up in 41 units. That's the portfolio that I have. But as I built that, I figured out that I don't love being an operator in real estate. I love what it does for me, real estate, but I don't love operating it. And also, the dirty little secret in real estate, we didn't make any money on it. Not for the first couple of years. COVID notwithstanding, any money you're making early, you're probably pouring back into the property. Or if you're buying like we did, where rents were really low because the landlords never increased them, we had to take time to get rents up to a level where we could even cash flow. And even then, I'm splitting that cash flow in multiple parts because of multiple partners. So this plan to buy real estate and cash flow within a year or two just wasn't realistic. It did end up cash flowing later, but again, I didn't love the game of being in real estate. I love the outcome of real estate, the equity upside, the cash flow eventually, the tax benefits, the debt pay down, all amazing. But in there, I started to build community around investing in real estate. I started a local networking group, and that grew and expanded, and I really enjoyed putting on these meetings and creating content like I do now. It showed me that, wow, I actually like sharing my my journey. I like putting content out there. I like talking about this thing, this real estate thing I'm really passionate about. But over time, real estate was not, again, the thing that I wanted to be in. I wanted really to honestly be in a place where, hey, I want to leave my job. I want to go do bigger things. I had this dream of traveling for at least 3 months. And so that pivoted me from, I have all this real estate to, well, let me build out my brand. And that brand started with a podcast. I host a podcast called Tribe of Millionaires. Tribe of Millionaires pays me nothing. The partnership I have with GoBundance, which is a community I belong to, they pay me $1,000 a month. I guess that's not nothing, but it's not $400,000 a year type of income. That said, from that, I built a community called Emerge. This is a membership community for entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs that are seeking to gain momentum by connecting with incredible people, getting accountability, and using the tools that we have to share and get accountability for goals. Emerge is my baby. It's my community. Members pay $5,000 a year to be part of it, and that is my major source of income. Within Emerge, we also do events, and those events also pay me something, but not as much as just the business of Emerge. Now think about where I've been and where I am. I've got this job that I hate in insurance claims, not me, and now I get to work with people and help them get to a stage of life they're trying to get to and get paid to do it. That's pretty cool. And then lastly, I have a production company. It's small. It produces my podcast and a couple of others, and that pays me a little bit every month as well. But those are my 3 sources of income: the podcast, my Emerge community, my production company. In addition, I'm also a partner in a real estate firm. I get a little bit of payout from that, but really it's more about future earnings from it, meaning I invested my money with them. I'm a partner on the general partnership side, and one day those assets will trade and I'll get a windfall and I can reinvest that. So real estate for me is more like my retirement account. It's not my day-to-day earnings. But all of this was done because I set an intention, and that intention was I'm going to figure out a way to build a business while I'm working at my day job and do so remotely. The other tip in here is by doing my day job and taking that income and using it as my seed capital, I was able to pay for certain things that I didn't want to spend time doing. Laundry, mowing the lawn, cleaning that pool, cleaning the house deeply anyway. We'd clean up day to day, but we had a cleaning lady that came in every week to do all the deep cleaning. But taking those things off of my plate and off my wife's plate allowed me to focus on the 3 biggies in my life at that time: my family, my day job, my side hustle. Eventually that allowed me to quit, and the thing that I manifested was, man, all of my income streams, they can be done from anywhere. So when we decided to move to the Dominican for 1 year initially, it was easy to do because I didn't need to be in one specific place to earn income. So that's my story. That's how I'm earning income in the Dominican Republic. It's very specific. It may or may not be relevant for you. So what is? Well, I took the time to put together 3 different ways that I see people earning money and living in the Dominican Republic. When I say earning money, I mean USD. Also Canadian dollars. I've got 3 categories, and then I've got specific examples within each that, if nothing else, I hope get the creative juices flowing for you, so that if you decide, hey, you know what, I want to design that kind of life as well, you've got some sense of where your skills may align and so on. But here's the reality. It's going to take a bit. I started in 2018. I moved in 2022. So this isn't something where if you're looking to build income and you don't have any remotely right now, it's going to take some time to do it. If you're looking to get a job in the Dominican, future video on that, I'm going to dive deeper and get really tactical examples of that as well for you. But for the purposes of this video, I want to talk about how you can build an earning and revenue stream and be able to earn that money, US or Canadian or euros, and live in the Dominican. The first one is find remote work. Pretty obvious, but let me dive in a little bit deeper. When I talk to people everywhere, I always ask them, oh, you're here, you're working remotely, what do you do? And here are the most common industries that I see. First is sales. It's almost any kind of sales. I see pharmaceutical sales, even though they need to be in the hospital at times. They just travel back and forth. I see high ticket sales for things like masterminds or coaching programs. I see software sales, people that are in sales and can do so remotely. There's a lot of them running around the Dominican Republic right now. Dominican Americans that found a way to do what they do remotely, or their company just didn't require them to be in any one place. A second one is customer service. I remember meeting a guy that lives in Bani, and he actually moved to Punta Cana. But when he moved, he and his wife came from South Carolina. She's Dominican, he's not. And he got a job doing chat-based customer service where he could do it from anywhere. But there is one key to these 2 roles. I'll share it in a second as to how they're doing it. It may require you to think a little bit outside the box. I'll share that in just a second. The third is some sort of IT or tech. I see a lot of people that are able to do this remotely, or their company doesn't require them to be in one place, and so they do it from the Dominican Republic, either where they're from originally or someplace they've wanted to live in country. Now, one through line over the dozens of people that I've met that do these different things is many of them, probably half, say, well, my company doesn't know that I live in the Dominican Republic. And I said, well, how do you get away with that? They say, hey, I've got a US-based VPN that I log into. They don't know. And in some cases, they say, when I need to be in person, I travel. It could be every 3-4 weeks, but whatever. I get to spend the majority of my time where I want to be, and then I'll make the travel back when I need to be in person in Florida or New York or wherever. So it might take a little bit of you taking a shot here, daring yourself to say,
hey, you know what? I'm going to do this and I'll figure it out if it all comes crashing down later.
That's scary because as people, we value certainty more than we do happiness sometimes. But if you step into uncertainty, you could really unlock something really cool. And as human beings, trust me, you'll figure it out if something comes to pass. Now, I want to show you and read you a DM I got from another person that lives down in the Dominican Republic. I'm not going to say where, I'm not going to say his name, but he and I DM'd on Instagram, and I think this will be very interesting to you. So let's throw it up. This is from him. Hey man, live in X town. $300,000 a year job myself, but still working. Instagram keeps showing me your stuff. Just wanted to say hi and reach out. I said, hey, appreciate it. The question I always ask, what do you do for a living? He says, I'm a director of engineering for a company that provides web services to government agencies. Been living in DR now for like 8 years. So I get questions like the one I got, like, hey, I'm an engineer, I'm in software or whatever. Like, how do I work remotely? Just simply find a company that allows you to work remote. Now, how do I know this? Check this out. Yeah, my entire company is remote. So as long as I have internet, which Claro fiber optic, I have better internet than most Americans I know. Hey, for those of you that question me on, hey, why is living in the Dominican no fall off from living in the United States? There's an example of it. This guy doesn't live close to me either. Love DR during the wintertime. Being Atlantic Standard Time, I get that extra hour in the morning before the East Coast time comes online. In the United States, when the clock rolls back in October, we in the Dominican stay at the time. So if it's 8 o'clock Eastern in the morning in the Dominican, it's 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern after whatever day in November the clock rolls back. So if I start my day at 9 o'clock my time and take a little time for me in the morning, I'm actually on 8 o'clock Eastern time. Pretty cool for the winter. So I agree with him on that. But there you go. There's an example, a real example of somebody making a good living in the Dominican Republic by working remotely for his company in a technical field. And he's been doing that for 8 years. That predates COVID and all the remote stuff. So more now than ever, remote is acceptable. So if he can from 8 years ago, I'm betting that most of you can as well. Now, where to find remote work? I get that question quite a bit, and I don't have a perfect resource for you. There are a lot of different job boards and job sites. I've done a lot of research to understand where the best reviews are and who seems to be getting the most value from what platform. The one that I see the most is flexjobs.com. I honestly should sign up as an affiliate for them. I talk about them all the damn time. But either way, it's a subscription site. You're gonna have to pay something. It might be like $10 or $20 a month. I don't really know, to be honest with you. But the value of that site, from what I've researched, is that all the jobs that are posted are screened by a human being. Doesn't mean it's a perfect place. Doesn't mean there's not bad jobs on there. And it doesn't guarantee you that you're going to find one. I've had some people reach out and say, I've been on there for a couple of months. Nothing's panned out. I've had other people say, yeah, hey, I just used it. I applied and I got this job and I'm making the move to the Dominican, which is amazing. So take it for what it's worth, but it's a tool that you can use. And there are other sites like it. Just do your research and see what works for you. But it might require a little bit of a monetary investment. So if it does, I'm sorry, but there you go. The second thing categorically that you can do is you can build a remote business. Now, I shared what I did, and it's kind of unique, building a brand, podcast business, membership community. Many of you might be like, what is this mastermind? Like, what the heck is this? It was new to me too a few years ago, but there's a massive industry around this. There's a lot of bad actors in it as well. So before everybody goes and runs out and starts joining masterminds or coaching programs, please make sure that the person or people or entity putting them on are on the up and up. Happy to answer questions. I know a lot of different mastermind groups out there. Just drop it in the comments and I'm happy to help you out with that. By the way, before I continue and give you a few examples, I'd really appreciate you smashing that like button, hitting subscribe. It really helps me grow the channel and produce more and more content for you. So here's who I've met that have built remote businesses or took their business and made it remote. There's a guy in my neighborhood who's from Canada who owns a construction company in Canada. He orchestrated it so that he wouldn't have to be on the ground, visible and present all the time. Still goes back every quarter or so to make sure the business is running, but he runs it remotely. Sometimes it flares up and needs to go back a bit more frequently, but you get the point. At one point, he did say, though, that he didn't have to go for like 6 months, which is pretty cool. But he had a business that has a local footprint that he was able to elevate himself out of. So if that's you, you're a business owner, a construction company, a roofing company, whatever, thinking bigger and scaling your operation so that you don't need to be as involved day to day might be a way that you can achieve this goal. Others I've met are truck drivers. I met a truck driver who said, well, what I ended up doing was I bought the truck and the route. And then I bought a second truck. I hired 2 drivers, and I make just enough from that by being remote that I don't even need to be on the ground. I go once, twice a year, and that's it. So he's paying for the trucks, he's paying the drivers, and he makes a few thousand extra a month. And where he decided to live in the country as a guy with no kids and just his wife, they could live on $3,500 a month in a more remote part of the country. So even something like that. The other is info products, e-commerce, Amazon stores, fulfillment by Amazon. There's a lot of different options. And when you meet people here, and I know a lot of them, they're in sometimes multiple hustles to pull together a few $1,000s a month, which is all they really need to live, depending on where they decide to live and what their living situation is. With kids, it might be remote work because kids are expensive. I've covered that in other videos, but I think you get the point. Now look, as far as building a business in the Dominican, again, I'll cover that in another video for another time. In fact, I'm going to bring in people that have established businesses here. They can go through all the nitty gritty, all the things you got to keep an eye on, all the landmines you're going to step on, so on and so forth. The last one, pretty simple, just retire. Earn your money there in retirement income and have it sent here. Some people ask questions like, oh, can my Social Security be deposited to an account down there? I don't know the answer to that. Talk to your bank and figure that out. But I do know that your benefits don't expire. They don't leave you just because you decide to live in another country. If you're a veteran, there are multiple VAs around the country where you get access to medical, massage, all that good stuff. So no issue there if you're a veteran as well. Now, if you're wondering how much it would cost you, how much you need to budget to move here, just tap right here. I'll put this video up where I go over how it cost us over $51,000. Doesn't need to be your story, but check that video out. Subscribe, like, drop a comment. Let me know how this landed for you, and I appreciate you all watching.